Hello, Belle. Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to connect with you. I know we're oceans and oceans apart. So this is just another testament to how the digital world is connecting us. I love it.
I know, I'm so excited to have you because I know that you know your stuff. And this is an area that I think a lot of people skip over, myself included, as we were just talking about, and we'll dive into that a little bit. So tell the people, they've heard the official bio, but what is it that you do and help people with? How do you explain it to people?
Absolutely. So I start out by asking people, I'm like, do you ever feel like you're the best kept secret? Do you feel like you have something in you that the world just needs to know about? So I kind of gauge their interest on that. And they're like, well, of course, yeah. Like, so tell me more about what you do. And I'm like, well, I really get to help develop personal brands and image for my clients. And I love doing this because I was designed by God to do this. And I help my clients really get that foundational work underneath them so they can go out and do what they were designed to do. So it just gives like such a drive and passion. I love working on brands so much. And people have so many skills and talents, but don't necessarily how to really get them out into the world or communicate it or talk about it. So that's where I come in and I get to really elicit that information from them and evoke those strong emotions so that they're excited to talk about their skill sets and their passions and what they can do.
Yeah, I'm amazing. And I know that how much that this can help. When you nail this, I feel like you feel grounded. It's a good foundation that everything springs off, right?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I talk about when I talk to my clients about what we really do in your branding is different from your marketing. So when we talk about marketing, we're talking about logo, website, the aesthetics of your brand. So colors, fonts, branding is really, it is the foundation of your house. If you want to think about it as a foundation of your house, and you have to really get that foundation super solid before you can do all of the marketing pieces. So you have to get your vision, your mission, your values, your goals completely solidified. You know, we build a house on a super solid foundation, and then you can go up from there. The sky's the limit. Do your colors, do your fonts, do your logos, all the fun things that people really see. But you have to like plant those seeds first, put them in the ground before they can spring up and be something absolutely beautiful, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
Totally. So,
yeah.
so how did you get into personal branding and how it is that you work with people?
Yeah. So I'm like, where do I start? So, in 1980, no, I'm just kidding. So I've been in the marketing industry for 22 years now, so over 2 decades. And I actually started out in broadcast journalism. I wanted to be on the news. So it just, when I graduated from college, the market fell out. I didn't have a job that I'd basically done a handshake on. And I was like, well, what am I going to do with myself? I had a marketing degree, a mass communication degree, which I don't even think exists anymore. And I was like, what am I going to do? And through a friend of a friend of a friend, I was introduced to an owner of an ad agency. And we just started talking, and I was like, I can do this job. I know I can. I was basically like a glorified secretary, if you will. I mean, it was a small agency. Everyone wore multiple hats. And I was just a driver and a go-getter. And I was like, teach me, teach me. I want to know about this. I want to know about this. So I was answering phones, signing for postal packages, and managing a multi-million dollar account at the same time. And
That's
so
hilarious.
it was it was just crazy, but truly one of the best experiences of my life. And it just showed me what I didn't like about agency side, but what I really liked. And the things that I really liked completely outweighed the bad stuff. And I just wanted to stick with it longer and longer. And my skill sets really navigated me into more of project management and account management because I know systems, love systems. You're going to live or die by your systems and your structures. And so I got that. So I gravitated more towards account management. And then I got to work on huge brands as I navigated up the path through my career and went to other agencies. And like I got to start an NBA team in my city. And, working with the NBA is not for the faint of heart. There's a lot of red tape that you have to go through. And NBA is our professional basketball over here. And so from there, I just said, look, I want to work on a luxury brand. And I had my eyes set on New York and happened to get a job with Tiffany in New York. And it was just such an incredible experience. And just working with the jewelry, which I have a love for jewelry, and hearing the stories and how the jewelry was created and designed, and meeting the master gemologist was just I mean, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So I think that is one of the best parts about luxury jewelry. It's the story.
Yeah.
You're always like, oh, I just want to hear all of like, anyway,
yes.
Keep going. Sorry. But yeah.
Yes. Well, stories are so powerful. Any industry, like I really can sell just about anything. You can sell just about anything. Are you still there? Did I lose you?
Yeah. I'm here.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I use my love for big brands, and I wanted to work more one-on-one with people. I realized that I actually do really love people for the most part. And I wanted to really develop skill sets within people and have their passions come alive. Like, what's their story? What story did they have to tell? What story is still unfolding within them that drives them and gets them up every single day? So I got brave enough to leave my corporate job and take that leap of faith and say, okay, I'm going to do this. I am going to figure it out. I'm going to bootstrap this together and work with incredible human beings, and women who are just driven and want amazing things and want to put their product out into the world. And that's actually how we met. Yeah. I know. Yeah. I love it. Amazing. And I think, likeness sees likeness in other people and feels that energy within each other and within your souls. And I mean, if I were still at my last corporate job, who knows if we ever would have met? And here we are now talking about such incredible
Probably not.
Yeah.
That's funny. So tell me, let's dive into what a personal brand actually is. You mentioned a couple of things like vision and mission. What are the elements of this? If we are talking to most of the people listening to this are solo or small teams, female business owners who often started because they have a skill set and they just started offering that skill set. There probably wasn't a lot of thought put into their brand apart from this is my logo and colors, right? Because it was more about, oh great, I can do that. Sure, I can do that. And some people, have multiple six-figure businesses and no website at all, no really personal like Instagram presence at all. So how do we, if this is something now we're thinking, actually, I do have something to say, I can help people in a bigger way. What are the elements that we're thinking about here that go into a personal brand?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I will say that your brand, who you are, is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. So when I realized that, and when I talk my clients through that, everybody's like, deer in headlights. It's like, wait, what? I'm like, well, people talk about you and you're not in the room. I mean, don't dismiss that. It's going to happen. How can you help control the narrative of what people are saying about you when you're not in the room? What do you want them to say about you when you're not in the room? So when you put it in those terms, or you pose that question to someone, that really makes them stop and think about, what are the adjectives that describe who you are, that you want other people to see and describe you back. So I often ask my clients, okay, like, what are 3 words that describe you? What do you think those 3 words would be? You're like, the world is your oyster. What are the 3 words? So, Annelise, what are the 3 words that would describe you? I'm going to put you on the hot seat.
Honestly, oh my gosh. As I mentioned briefly at the start and how we were talking about before, and you mentioned that branding and marketing are different things. I'm a marketer. Brand has always been something that I have loved the idea of and I know is important, but
Mhm.
have never prioritized really. And
Mhm.
it's something that I'm thinking about more now as my company has a different personality to myself and thinking more long term around where I'm taking my business. This
Mhm.
is like, just to be completely transparent, this is what I'm thinking about right now in terms of personal brand versus brand of my agency academy. And like,
Yes.
do we separate those things, because long term that could be an asset that I could sell, whereas my personal brand follows me. So then it is something that this year, which is like, 3 weeks in, is
Yes.
very new to thinking about. So if I think about 3 words that describe me, I think integrity is one, because that's really important. I think freedom is really important to me, and probably joy and like passion and loving life. Like, they're the top 3 off the top of my head without looking at a list and thinking about it. But you
Yeah.
tell me,
Yes.
what's your on the other side?
Yeah.
How would you describe? And it's okay, I can handle it.
Yeah. And this is such a fun question, and you want to make
Yeah.
it fun. Like, don't take
Mm,
yourself so seriously that you're not willing to accept any other words that come in, you
mm.
know? Um, so for you, I would definitely say genuine. Um, you're pretty even keeled, even though I can tell, like, I was definitely going to say joyful and joyous for you because you enjoy life, and that comes across so genuinely for you. And you can see it in your social media, especially where, you can see the joy coming across when you talk about your children and your family and your business. You're passionate about all of those things. So then that leads me to my other word, which is you're passionate. And from the very first conversation that you and I had, I can tell that you're passionate and you care. You dig down and you ask those tertiary questions that are more meaningful other than how are you? You're like, no, but really, how are you? And just in your presence, it comes across in such a calm manner that people want to open up and tell you about that. So I'm truly grateful for that.
Oh,
And
thanks, Belle. I'm
yes.
glad.
Yeah,
This is fun. I
absolutely.
like doing this like behind the scenes kind of unscripted, unfiltered view. That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and we make it fun. Life's
Mm.
too short not to have fun. We can be serious. And I am certain that you provide a white glove service and you over deliver in the services that you provide. And we can do that, but we want to make sure that we're having fun along the way. And we can kind of cater that and tweak that to our clients too, which helps make it fun. In the industry that we're in, we need to know ourselves. We need to know our own brand in order to attract those right clients. But we also need to be a good read on our our clients and who comes in. We talk about a tribe that we want to connect with and want to attach to us. We want to be magnetized to a tribe, but everybody's a little bit different, so you have to adjust yourself to have those little nuances to figure out how to have fun with the individuals that you're working with or with the other companies that you're working with, which that keeps us all on our toes, just to be super transparent. It can definitely keep us on our toes for sure.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got our 3 words.
Yeah.
Where do we go with that? How do I work with those?
So I usually I ask my client to just sit with them for a little bit, and then I sit with them for a little bit also. And then I ask other questions as well. So like, for example, if you were a mood, what would your mood be? If you were an animal, what would your animal be? So if you were a mood, like, would you be smooth jazz on a summer evening? Or would you be like children playing on a carousel? Like, those are very different dynamics. You know, for an animal, are you a trusted golden retriever? Are you like, you know, Mufasa? Or, you know, you can have fun with it. Or like, if you were a song, what song would you be? All of these things really start to elicit and pull out the character and energy from my clients and helps me define them. So once we go through that, then I'm able to help work on their mission, vision, values, and goals, and where they really want to go. All of that, like we talked about, sets the foundation for their house and their personal brand. And once we work on their goals, it gives us a North Star to really point towards. So everything we do comes back and is completely aligned with mission, vision, values, and goals, and gives us, again, like, where are we going? So you get up in the morning, you're like, I know my foundation and I know where I'm heading. Once you know that and you're so solid on it, you start to attract that also. Because again, like attracts like. You know, I'm not the only person on the face of this planet by far who does branding and brand strategy and image consulting. I'm not. But people want to work with me because like attracts like. They like the energy that I have. They like that I have more of a classic traditional style to me, but I'll put some kind of edge to it. You know, there's something that they like within how I'm serving up the service that I provide, that they want to come here and get some.
I love it. So then you use that to create like tone of voice and colors and all of that, and it pulls from that.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And everyone's tone of voice is different. That's a really fun exercise to go through, you know, because people can say the same thing, but your tone of voice it's how you say it, you know, and
completely.
Yeah, give me two celebrities. Give me the names of two celebrities.
Me? Oh, hang on.
I'm
so like not fun. Okay, like
it could be like someone who's
Prince
passed away.
William, like, and Beyonce.
Okay, so if I were going to say, I'm trying to think of something fun to say. I'm terrible with this word of it. I'm like, what would I say that's fun? And then we're gonna say it in the voice of Prince William and Beyonce. They would say it totally different. Like if you would say, do you want to go on a date? How would Prince William say, do you want to go on a date? Catherine, would you like to go on a date with me? Is that my impression? That's a horrible impression. I just imagine that he's pretty dry and they've been married for a long time now. And, you know, And then Beyonce is like, Jay, let's go on a date. Let's go. I got my hair done and the machines are going. So my hair's going. I got my lipstick on. I'm popping in my outfit. I mean, so
Red, let's go. All right.
Yeah. So your tone is, you can say the same thing, but you say it totally different than anyone else, because your energy is different. Even like different times of the day, your energy is going to be different. Some people like are morning people, some people are evening people. So your personal brand helps bring all of those fun things together, whether you realize it or not. Again, because your personal brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. Yeah. So you have to keep that in mind when you're thinking about your personal brand, and also like, what is sustainable for you? Like most people, this level of energy isn't sustainable. And truly for me, it's not sustainable 16 hours a day. But I just get so much energy when I do podcasts and Zoom calls and being one-on-one with people because it's such a great connection that my energy comes to life. And, but if you were to see me at 9:30 at night, I'm like, we got to go to bed. I can't, I'm giving up on the day. Life is over. I need to get sleep.
So do you think about it more like a role that you play?
That,
Or,
oh my gosh.
and not you, but like us.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
At times, yes. And I really do think about that more often now because I've been looking at people. I have two examples. I've been looking at people on stage and how they are in real life. So the first person that comes to mind for me is like Tony Robbins. He has high energy, but at his conventions, he will get really personable with people, and it's just one-on-one. And there can be thousands of people in a stadium, but he can be one-on-one and zoned in with someone. And I feel like he can be that person in real life also.
Mhm.
Beyonce, no, like she is a performer. She goes into her Sasha Fierce mode. She is a performer. So that's probably not what you get behind the curtain at all. Um, Another example that I was showing to my husband the other day is even in photography. We're so used to seeing videos of people and probably like seeing their facial expressions and hearing them, hearing their voice. But photography conveys a lot about people. You can see their body expressions, their gestures. It's still, but you can see their gestures. So I was talking to my husband the other day and I was like, why is it the trend that, please don't hate me for saying this. So I was like, but why is it that it's the trend for people to take photography in the woods somewhere? I'm like, what is this really telling? Like, people, they're like really dressed up and they have their family out there and they're like, oh, woods, let's go. Trump's out there in our Sunday best and go take a picture. And I'm like, what? What does that mean? Don't get me wrong, the photography is beautiful. It is nothing against the family, the clothes, the photographer, the styling, nothing. But it just hit me this week that I was like, why are you there? Why are you in the woods in your best clothes? I don't get it. So all
It's
of
purely
that,
aesthetics now. It's purely.
yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like,
There's no
I don't.
story there. It's just purely aesthetics.
Yes, it really is. But
Mm.
all of that tells a story. And I'm like, to go back to your question, is that your performance self versus your real self? And I would rather see someone be their real self as much as they can on stage, on the phone, on Zoom calls, as they are in real life. Like
Mm.
that's authentic. And I think our our BS meter, truly, we can see through that when people are fake now because we see so much of it. We sit and scroll and
Mm.
scroll and pin, 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 and scroll and scroll and scroll. And we can see so much of that now.
Mm.
So I think we have a good detector code that it's just like, okay, this isn't really real. This is not really this person. And
Yeah.
I would much rather hang out with someone who's more authentic. How about you? What's your take on that?
Yeah. Again, I've been thinking about it more lately as more of my personal world will follow me on Instagram. And I'm like,
Mm,
oh, that's like just one part. And I feel like it is a role that I play, but I don't think it's inauthentic. Like it's just one facet. I'm just selective about what
right.
facets I show. And so it show like that's 100% of what people show, but that's not 100% of me. Maybe that's 10%. And so yes, we can have a real
Yeah.
conversation like this. And this is not a role, right? This is me being totally authentic, transparent, me just having a conversation with you that will yes be published, but it's just a conversation. And so I
Yeah.
don't feel like I hide things, but I'm strategic around what I show because I know what will get attention of the people I want to get attention from. And so that I think it's just more strategic. And like I said, yeah, like just of one facet of the diamond.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really private and really introverted. And
Mhm.
that doesn't necessarily, that part's not really seen on
Mhm.
there.
Yeah. And it
Yeah,
doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be.
totally.
Absolutely not. I mean, you show the parts that you are comfortable with showing. I mean, there are accounts, like faceless accounts, that are super successful.
Mm.
And there are plenty of people who are introverts who are like, well, here's my day to day, and this is what it looks like. And there are people so attracted to that. You'll have an audience who's attracted to you, and I'm not their cup of tea, and vice versa. And we all need to be okay with that. Like, we're not going to please everybody all the time. And it's really hard for some people, me included, to consider that. I want everyone to love me, but when I stop and think about it, I'm like, they're not. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, because everyone in the world is not my cup of tea either. So,
Mhm. But
yeah.
also, you don't, that your Instagram or your website is for a specific type of person. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, other people might like you, but you're not speaking to them in that environment because it's just a tool in the chink of marketing, right?
Yes.
So I think it can totally be authentic without being everything. Like nothing I put on there is fake or untrue or not. Like I'm not trying to be someone that I'm not there. So I feel fine about it.
Yes.
It's just not the truth. Like, yeah, like I'm I don't love being on my phone. Like I'm not a scroller a I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. And I don't love small talk. I'd much prefer
Mhm.
conversations like this where we get deep and we go one on one. And that's more me than the Instagram face
Yeah.
is. But again, it's the strategic link in the funnel.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that balance is tricky.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I don't feel like it's as hard for me
Mm,
versus, and I'll just use myself as an example. I don't think it's as hard for me as it is for the younger generations, because I didn't grow up with an electronic in my hand or sitting in front of a computer every day. Um, I didn't really start sitting in front of a computer until my first job.
mm,
And, I had a cell phone when when I started driving, but it was so expensive that, like, you better have lost an appendage if you used it. Like, so yeah, I think about,
don't hit that World Wide Web button. Do you remember that? You're like, don't hit that
no,
button. It's gonna cost us
no.
like $100.
Yes, yes. It was just crazy. My parents were like, you better be dying if you're using, I'm just kidding. They weren't that extreme. But
Yeah,
they're like,
but
girl, you do
seriously,
not
you
need
better
to
be
be.
broken down on the side of a road.
Yes, yes. So, like, I didn't grow up with a phone in my hand. So yeah, I think about it differently versus the younger generations, where they're just so used to seeing reality TV shows and the Kardashians and housewives of whatever city and or real estate, this and that. And you have a camera in front of you at all times. Like, you do not want a camera in front of me at all times, trust me, because it's not pretty. It's just not. And no one needs to see that part of everybody. Yeah, you
Mm,
don't. Just because other people choose to have their lives that public doesn't mean that you do. You
mm,
do not have to. And truly, like, part of it, I do it as protection as well. Like, you don't have to know everything about me. That's reserved for my family and my closest friends, who I know that I can trust with that information, that has my heart and my mind at their best, and won't do anything to compromise that.
yeah.
So the world doesn't need to know that. Yeah. We can all be vulnerable, but it is totally fine to take a step back and breathe and figure out how vulnerable you really are going to be with
Yeah.
everybody. Totally fine. Yeah.
So how do you work with your clients on choosing what elements they show of themselves?
Mm. Yeah, everybody is different. And as I go through and I have a one-on-one strategy session with my clients, I have a great intuition. It's one of my skill sets, and I figure out quickly how open they really want to be or not. I do help develop a social media strategy for my clients just by default of helping them figure out who their target audience is. We build their target audience and we talk about their audience's fears, frustrations, and desires. We have to know their audience. So, and by knowing their audience, it's also default in helping me get to know my client as well. We talk about what their fears, frustrations, and desires are, and talking about their goals and where they want to be in 5 or 10 years, and how can we get there with their personal brand. So that helps format their personality. And I just ask them also, I'm like, how public do you want to be? What are you comfortable with? Most people already have social media at this point, so I can dive into their social media, whether it's on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and figure out how public they really are. Some clients are great with it, but then they're like, I just don't want to do it all the time. And I'm like, okay, then don't put your face out there all the time. That's an option.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
totally an option.
Mhm.
I know there's so many. I think we often get caught up in all of the things that are on all of the shiny objects and all of the, oh my gosh, but she's doing that, but she's doing that, but he's doing this. Like, and it can be sometimes hard to have those blinkers on. I know I work with clients on that a lot, that just are so overwhelmed with the options because, and they can
Mhm.
all work. I think, like you said, it's coming back to the values and the goals and choosing really wisely.
Yeah,
But I know you
totally.
have a freebie around the 4 steps to crafting your personal brand. Is that the correct title?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I want to make it easy for people. And I know that everyone can't afford, or they're just not ready to take that step yet and hiring someone like me to really work on their personal brand. So there's a lighter approach to it and helping them develop their personal brand. So there's 4 steps to it. It's pretty simple. So yeah, it's a freebie it's on my Instagram account. You click the link in there, and it is one of the freebies in there. It's clearly marked out freebie. And then on my website too, it's on my website underneath freebies.
Perfect. Just in case we're confused.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I use pretty awkward terms there, so freebie it is.
you wouldn't be surprised when people try and call things like, but I just don't want to be boring. But clear
Yeah.
is clear is good. So
Yeah.
let's talk about those. Let's touch on those really quickly, just
Mhm.
so people can get an idea of what this process is going to be. What's number one?
Number one truly is identifying who you serve.
Mhm.
And I say that because we all have skills and talents that we are really good at. And it's what do you do with those skills and talents? And I came up with that because I'm a faith-filled person. I am a Christian. And at the end of the day, we all want to hear God say, well done, my good and faithful servant. Done is action. Done absolutely means action. So, what action are we taking to use our skills and talents and gifts that we have? So, identifying who you serve, we want to know who that person is. So, that's number one. You want to know who your audience is. And I have questions in here, several questions about who that person is. And then we go through and define your brand identity, your personal brand identity. So it talks about your core values, your key characteristics that you really have. What are those unique things that you have that you do really, really well? And then we define how only you can do them, only you can provide them. Because again, there's so many people in this world who do the same thing that you do. And more than likely, it's hundreds of thousands of people who do the same thing that you do. So, what is that very special thing that only Well, it's that thing that you do it only the way that you do it. So we talk about that. And so it's an interactive workbook that they will download. And then we create a vision board based around that because we want to have a goal. We want to have a North Star, something that we're directing towards. We want to know what this really looks like and put it on paper. You can cut out things from a magazine and put them on a big giant poster board. Or what I do is I keep it on a digital format. I created it in Canva and it's on my laptop every single time I look at it. So I know who I serve, the skill sets that I have to go along with that, my dreams that are in there, things that I want to do and want to accomplish. So for example, I've had this microphone. I don't know if you can see my podcast microphone has been on my vision board for about 2 years now because I want to make more of these connections with people and serve other people in this manner. So that stays up there for sure. And then I'm scrolling through it as we're going because I don't want to give all of it away.
It's true.
And then we go into creating content, how you create content based on the skill sets and talents that you have and what that looks like. Like, just like we talked about, do you want to show your face on camera? Would you rather just write about it in a blog post? Would you want to do a vlog? What does that look like? And what is the most comfortable way for you to do that? That also you can be consistent in creating content because once people find you, once your tribe finds you, they want more and more and more. They want to know, like, you have this juicy piece of information that they can't wait to find out more about. So we talk about creating your content and how to be specific about that. And then number 4, the fourth one is talking about the platforms that you can post on. So is it your website? Is it your blog? Is it a vlog? Is it, YouTube? What are platforms that you're comfortable with? And how can you be consistent there? Because you don't have to start out on every single platform. Girl, that's over. I know. I'm like, I get exhausted even saying
it's too much.
It is.
It's too much.
It is. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
But it's a lighter version of what I get to talk about with my clients and what I get to go through with my clients. So it's a great, great starting point. Even if you feel like you have a solid brand, go back and just revisit some of these things also. And if you don't have a brand, start here. Yeah.
I think the revisiting part is important too, because we evolve, right? Like, hopefully we're growing and we're changing, and maybe the core components stay the same, but as we learn, I think we shift who we talk to a little bit, or we shift the way that we want to speak, or we see what our clients really respond to and really need, and so we can shift in terms of that as well. So how often would you recommend revisiting some of this? Because we don't want to shift the foundation every 2 years.
Because then
how do we totally? But how do we adapt and make our brand grow with us?
So I look at it every year. Not that I'm shifting every single year, but there are tweaks and little adjustments that I want to make with it. Like, I'm not the same person that I was in my 20s, and thank the Lord for that one, because the world doesn't need that version of Belle. That version of Belle served the world at that time, and it was great. So yeah, I've definitely evolved. Like, I've evolved since I left my last corporate job. I feel like I've really found my voice and got my feet underneath me. So yeah, that's helped me really figure out who I am and who I want to be. And then also, like, sometimes my priorities shift. This past year, so prime example is past year when I was archiving photos on my phone, I realized that all of last year, I didn't have enough experiences and enough moments with the people who matter the most in my life. Most of the photos on my phone was of work things. And I love work. I love what I do so much. but it became more of a priority than my family and friends. And that was a really, really hard gut check for me. So just going back and revisiting this every year, and especially doing a vision boards are fun for me. It takes a lot of thought, but I get to put things on my vision board that align with my priorities. And it helps me, I'm a visual person. So it helps me make sure that my priorities are in line and that work isn't overtaking all of that. There's an appropriate time and space for it, but it doesn't need to overtake my life as much as it did last year. So I don't think it's anything wrong with take a peek at it, refresh yourself on it, make little tweaks every year. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. I've really loved this conversation, Belle. I think the way that you explain it, really starting with even how we started with these 3 words, and
Mm,
I think like everything that we make progress on, it's about just being intentional, right?
yes.
And to be honest, I think like brand sometimes just feels like, for me, something that I haven't prioritized. But I think also when you put a framework to it, it's like, oh, it's not actually this really big, gigantic thing that we need to tackle. It's like it can, if we go to the experts, there's
Yeah.
actually a structure. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
And I call my method the ABC method because I want to keep it simple, but also it stands for appearance, behavior, and communication. ABCs, those are the 3 things that we can tackle and really solidify your brand. And that way it's not as daunting if you think about it in that manner. And you're right, it will take a little bit of time, but it's not like this massive mountain that we need. It's not Kilimanjaro that we need to climb over and like hope we survive. Yeah, it's nothing like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I think it can either feel like one or the other. It can feel like it's the fluffy stuff that we just don't like, that doesn't even matter.
Mm,
Or it's like this gigantic thing that's like, oh my gosh, I have to get it right. And I have to spend all this time on it. And it's not directly linked to ROI. But if you think
right.
about it as the foundation, then
Mhm.
actually, of course it is, because it's the foundation. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for being so generous with your time today and breaking it down how you did. And yeah, just having a really fun conversation. Thank
I
you.
know, this was so good. It's so amazing to connect with other women in business, female entrepreneurs, and in the marketing and branding space. And it leads to fruitful conversation when we're open to having fruitful conversation. So I appreciate you so much and just how genuine you are. So please don't lose that because I need it. I need it to sustain my brand and keep my brand going.
Oh, come on now. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for the kind words. And yeah, thank you again for your time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.